Okay, well, hello and welcome everybody to the Northamptonshire Virtual Funding Fair 2021, brought to you through the organisation NDFWN, which we all belong to, which is the local funding and development workers network, which brings together local infrastructure organisations such as mine, local authorities with grant schemes, and a number of funders, both national and local. I'm Sean Silver, and I coordinate Kettering Voluntary Network and work for Groundwork Northamptonshire. So just some housekeeping, everybody to keep on mute through the session. Thank you very much. Do use the chat facility. If you hover your mouse at the bottom of the screen, you'll see chat comes up, and we've already got some comments alongside in there. So we're recording the sessions and we'll upload to the Northamptonshire Council site, so you'll be able to go back to have a look, and others who weren't able to join can also catch up. And you'll also receive a feedback questionnaire, which we've incentivized because we know how these things get lost and forgotten about. So if you do complete that, we'll be very grateful, and you may be the recipient of a John Lewis voucher, which can't be bad, can it? Absolutely, absolutely. Right, so as I mentioned earlier at the beginning, we're joined by Renata from Bernard Sunley Foundation and Pippa from Orbit Group, Orbit Housing. And this is the second time they've joined us, and we're very grateful that you've made yourselves available to do 2 sessions. So with this multiple complex program of different funders presenting, sometimes we've had to run sessions at the same time. So we're very grateful for you for doing that. And Renata is going to take the floor first, or the virtual floor. She has a wonderful virtual floor behind her there.
Yes, it is virtual.
And then we'll follow on with Pippa, and then we'll take a Q&A. But do use the chat facility, please, to put your questions in. Thank you very much. So, Renata, over to you.
Thank you very much, Sean. I'm just going to start sharing my screen now.
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, here we go. Now, just need to minimize the view here. Okay, well, thanks very much for having me again. We're delighted to be able to present this year twice at the Northamptonshire Funding Fair. In fact, I think this is the first time we've been able to actually present to the Funding Fair. And for us, we're certainly thrilled that the kind of move to virtual for us means that we can actually come, because we're quite a small organisation actually. There's only 3 staff members. I'm the grants officer, there's the director and the finance officer as well. So, you know, for us getting out and about is not always feasible considering the workload of applications that come in quite regularly. So we're really thrilled that we can join you all again today. So I'm going to do a quick run through and take questions afterwards. So as Sean said, my name's Renata. I'm the grants officer at the Bernard Sunley Foundation. And we are a family grant-making foundation supporting charities in England and Wales, working to raise the quality of life and provide greater opportunities for the young, the elderly, the disabled and the disadvantaged. The foundation has awarded over 121 million in grants since it was established in 1960. So we've just celebrated our 60th birthday. Each year we give out just over 3.5 million to capital projects that deliver a real community focus or provide facilities to support those in need. So we are a capital funder, and for us this means freehold purchases, new buildings, extensions, refurbishments and recreational spaces. And we also fund new minibuses and other new vehicles that provide a vital service to those most in need in their local community. The types of organisations we fund include churches and other places of worship with a strong secular community focus, and charities or CIOs registered with the Charity Commission in England and Wales, and also certain organisations with exempt or accepted status, such as places of worship, specialist schools, mainly SEND schools, Scout and Guide groups, housing associations, and community benefit societies. So there's a long list of what we don't fund. So the types of ineligible applicants are charities registered outside England or Wales. We also don't fund casks, KICs, or unregistered community groups. Local authorities such as town or parish councils, churches or other religious bodies with no or limited secular activity, NHS hospitals or charities fundraising on their behalf, mainstream schools, colleges or universities, and this includes inclusive schools, or charities fundraising on their behalf, charities with an annual income of 10 million and over, and newly established charities with no previous annual accounts. And charities that have applied to us unsuccessfully within the previous 12 months, we also encourage them to wait for that full 12 months before reapplying. And charities applying for a new grant before an existing pledge grant has been paid. And of course, individuals. So what we don't fund, so types of ineligible projects. So projects with total costs of 10 million and over, we no longer tend to support. And projects between 5 million and 10 million, we do ask them to contact the office to get permission to apply first. This is because and you'll see shortly, that the grants the foundation gives are actually relatively modest in comparison to quite large funders such as Garfield Western Foundation. And the trustees felt a few years ago that in order to, give some value to the grants that we were actually giving, it didn't quite make sense for us to be supporting extremely large projects costing that amount of money. So we also don't fund projects with total costs of less than £5,000. Capital fees such as building surveys, planning applications or feasibility studies. Core costs such as salaries, running and repair costs, websites and other IT. Programs, rent and utility bills. We also don't fund medical or research medical equipment, fittings such as electrical appliances and furniture, and equipment such as IT infrastructure and AV systems, work tools, sports gear, musical instruments, and so on. And as that list is, it can be quite extensive. We do encourage people to contact us if they're not entirely sure their project meets our requirements. Also second-hand vehicles and heritage or conservation projects with no or limited community benefit. So how we fund. So we don't actually fully fund projects, and we've got 3 levels of grants. So we have large grants of £20,000 upwards and medium grants of usually £10,000 to £15,000 and up to £20,000. These are considered and agreed at a couple of trustee meetings throughout the year. And these large and medium grants are normally awarded for projects costing over £100,000, and the results are usually in 6 months. So small grants are our biggest area, and these range from £2,000 to £5,000, and these are agreed on a monthly basis, and these form the majority of our grants. So they're normally awarded to projects costing £100,000 and under, and because they're agreed monthly, you usually get a result within 3 months, sometimes sooner if we can manage it. So if you're awarded a grant, we pledge them for 2 years from the date of the grant offer. We do this obviously because capital projects can take a while to get off the ground, and payments are made when funds are raised for the capital project to actually begin. And we give our grants within 4 broad categories. These are community, education, health and social welfare. I'm going to go run through these categories now with some examples from your locality. So in community, so we tend to give grants towards the building or refurbishment of scout huts, village halls, community centres, youth clubs, boxing clubs, outdoor activity centres, farm and outdoor learning centres, sports centres and pavilions, playing fields and playgrounds. As you can see, the list is quite extensive here. And as you could expect, this is by far our largest category that we fund, just because of the range of projects that fit within this particular category. So we also fund the purchase of new minibuses and other vehicles that assist those most in need in their local communities. Now, some of you might recognise this building. So in 2015, we granted £50,000 to Northamptonshire Association Youth Clubs towards a new meeting hall at Kings Park. Our next category is education. So we support improvements and new facilities at special needs schools and the purchase of new adapted minibuses that benefit children with special needs and disabilities. We also award grants to educational nature centres and to new education and learning centres at museums, galleries and other arts organisations, although this tends to be a very, very small proportion of our grants. So another example for you, in 2020, we awarded £25,000 to the Good Life towards creating an accessible and disability-friendly cafe and retail space called The Place to Be. And some of you may have caught a cup of coffee there at some point. So in our health area, so we support building and refurbishment projects, specialist new transport, and the creation of outdoor or recreational spaces for care homes, hospices, day centres and other facilities that provide relief and sanctuary for patients, their families and those with special needs. So the emphasis here is on helping charities that are providing an excellent standard of care and support within their communities. So some of you might also recognise Cransley Hospice. So we granted £2,000 in 2016 towards improvements to the family day room. And social welfare, our last category. So we support projects for veterans, the elderly, ex-offenders and those in prison, and schemes that enable people with mental and physical disabilities to live fuller lives in the community. And another example here, in 2018, we granted £4,000 to serve for a new conservatory at their therapy centre in Higham Ferrers. So how to apply? So we do recommend contacting us if you're unsure if your charity or project is eligible, but we do ask you to read our online guidance first. Unfortunately, we don't accept applications by email or post. So there's a two-step online process via our website. So the first step is our eligibility check, just to make sure that your project and your charity is eligible to apply. And step two, we have one application form for everyone. And this is that the form is actually, you can start a form and save it and resume it at any time. So some people might like their other colleagues to chip in with certain areas or so on. So we recently launched a save and resume form in 2019. So we feel like we've come a long way, caught up with other foundations here on that. So we think people are finding it useful. So when you apply, we will contact applicants for further information if we feel it's necessary. It often is to get some clarification on different parts of your application. But we also welcome major project updates from you by email, but we do ask you to use your grant reference number so that we can find you easily. And some statistics. So our funding in Northamptonshire, North and West. So since 1960, we've had 43 grant holders out of 79 applicants overall, which is pretty good odds. We've awarded 77 small grants, 9 medium grants and 30 large grants overall. And the total amount was over 2.7 million. Across all categories. But just in the last financial year, we've had 4 out of 8 applicants awarded a combined total of £20,500 via 3 small grants and 1 medium grant. So we have seen in recent years a slight tail off of successful applicants, which is why we're also quite pleased to be able to join you here today. So that's it from me. That's the formal presentation. Just over for questions, really.
Right, thank you, Renata. So when you did your last session, did you take questions separately, or did you do both presentations and then take questions generally?
Well, I took questions immediately after the presentation.
Yeah. Okay, let's do that then. So, folks, could you close your share, Renata, and then we can get the gallery view back. Thank you. Okay, so has anyone got any questions for Renata? Very full presentation there. Hilary.
I'm not really sure if we meet your criterion. We're a charity running called
Oh, I think Hilary's frozen there.
I think Hilary's frozen. Whilst we wait for Hilary to reconnect, Renata, one thing that I just wanted to mention was
so we work with EMAS, so we respond to.
Hilary, you broke up there, so we didn't hear what you had to say.
Am I back?
Yes, you're back.
Oh,
and she seems to have gone again, which is why
I was saying I'm frozen again. Sorry.
Yes.
I'll move.
If you type your question into the chat,
Sorry,
that's probably a good.
I'm moving nearer to our hub.
Right.
Hold on. I'm wandering downstairs. Hold
Okay.
on.
So whilst you do that, Hilary, I just have a question that I'd like to ask Renata, and that is, you said about who could apply, and you said registered groups. Do you mean constituted community groups?
No.
Or must they be registered charities?
That's correct. So you need to be registered charities, or if you're not a registered charity, you need to be an exempt or accepted as recognised by the Charity Commission for England and Wales.
So small groups that have just got a constitution can't apply?
No, unfortunately.
Okay. Right, so let's go to Hilary, and then is it John? We'll come to you in a minute.
I'm not sure that we reach your criterion. I've left my notes upstairs. We are first responders, Northamptonshire first responders, so we respond to 999 and 111 calls in front of the ambulance. We are a charity, just newly registered as a charity, and we raise all our own funds. There's nobody employed at all. We're all volunteers. Would that sort of thing possibly reach your criteria?
Well, we have supported first responders before. It's usually around getting a new vehicle.
Right.
We have noticed actually an increase of people asking us to support leasing, which we actually can't do at the moment because that's running costs. But we because we've noticed a bit of a trend, we're going to be looking at that soon to see if that's something that we could change. But normally, because of the nature of our capital grant, it's about purchasing an asset for the charity. Okay. So if you actually don't own the asset, obviously with a lease, that doesn't quite work out. But in terms of first responders, yes, we have supported emergency charities before. I think it depends on what you're looking for. Often it's equipment, like quite expensive equipment.
Well, we also run lots of education programs. So we go into schools and communities, and that we don't charge for that. That's all free service. So so it's having the kit to do that. But I'm not sure how that would reach what you're offering, because you said no medical equipment.
No, I think we're sticking on the equipment issue there.
Okay.
Because really, I suppose if you think of us more of a bricks and mortar kind of funder.
Okay, we don't have any of that.
No, it's a bit tricky unless you're trying to purchase a vehicle. I think it's
just got a new one coming, I think. So
congratulations.
Yes. Okay, I'll speak to I'm only representing the group, so I will speak to them and say, but I can't think that we do actually reach your criterion. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Renata.
Was John next, was he?
Yeah. Hello. Thank you, Renata. That was great. I don't know if I'm allowed to speak. I'm over in West Northants, but I don't think the borders have been put up yet. No, this is actually it's a general question. Parish council. I know you can't give to parish councils as such, but if it's just that I can think of a number of projects, either now or in the future, or even the past, that could fit your criteria. For example, I've been battling to save the buses. They cut the buses on our route in July 18, when the bus subsidies were cut. And so we would have had no buses from then until we persuaded all the parishes on the route to contribute to it. We've been managing that now for since July 18, and we've now got it up to March 22. However, we don't think that it will be financed, and certainly the parishes are not going to finance it again after that. And it's doubtful, whether rural transport, whether the promises will be fulfilled, shall we leave it at that, government and national and local and so on. And so if, for example, we wanted to buy a minibus for on-demand service or whatever we want to call it, would there be a way, and I suppose there's a similar, well, not similar situation, but if the parish council owns land, well, there is, and there's a football club on the recreation field, but you know, a thriving football club that runs itself, and the recreation committee which runs itself, is that still classed as an application by the parish council if they technically own the land? I think that'll do. Thanks.
I think it's an interesting question. So actually, my first, this is probably going to go way off topic, so try and keep it short. But this was my first question to you, and if I saw an application like that coming in the door, I'd ask, did you approach a community transport operator to cover the routes? You know, what kind of connections have you kind of looked for locally? Maybe there's none. Maybe there's no community transport operator in your area. But I would certainly look at that first. We get a lot of applications from community transport operators. Obviously, they're charitable organisations. So, for example, if you were trying to set up a partnership with a community transport operator and they needed an extra bus to do your route, we could certainly look at an application from them as a registered charity to support it. But bearing in mind that we don't fully fund projects, so for the size of a bus, that would be definitely under 100 grand. So you'd be only looking at a maximum of 5. So that's not a huge amount. You know, towards a minibus, minibuses being about, you know, going up to, you know, between 35 and 45, depending if they're adapted or not. In terms of doing it yourself, I suppose you'd have to ask if the football, for example, if you wanted it to be a local asset used by recreational groups, one of the groups would need to be a charity to apply to us, and they'd have to own the asset. So the parish council couldn't apply, and they can't own the asset. So yeah, I mean, those are the only 2 routes I can think of for you to apply to us to support a minibus for your area.
Okay, thanks very much.
Okay. Thank you. My internet failed me. I disappeared and now I'm back. But luckily, it appears that you all carried on. So I'm pleased that didn't affect you. Alex, you have a hand raised there. Is that a question?
Hi, yes. Apologies if this was covered at the start of the session, but I just wanted to check in terms of capital funding. We, as a funder, because I'm from the Community Foundation in Northamptonshire, we sometimes get requests for things like IT equipment and IT sort of updates on websites and things like that. Is that something Bernard Sunley covers, or is it, as you said, like a bricks and mortar type affair?
Yeah, at the moment we don't fund IT. A lot of that's to do with the durability, because IT has to be replaced very frequently. So, you know, if you're going to purchase a laptop, for example, you know, you've probably got maybe 3 to 5 years out of it, and then it has to be replaced. So kind of a very broad sort of approach for the capital funding is that at least the asset should be, you should roughly get about 10 years out of it. Which is why, for example, if you were applying to us to do updates to a rented premises, we require a 10-year lease to be in place before applying. So unfortunately, at the moment, we don't do IT. Again, we recognise the last year has been, well, it's changed the nature of how a lot of organisations work, and that digital, including ourselves, is becoming increasingly important. I don't think we're going to change it anytime soon, but we are certainly looking at it. So, you know, who knows, in a couple of years, that might be something that we change. But right now, we don't.
Thank you.
Thank you for that.
So I'm just conscious of the time. I'd like to move us on and welcome Pippa. We'll hopefully have some space for some other questions towards the end of the session. So Pippa, I'm going to share your presentation. Let me just work out how to do that.
Thanks, Sean.
Can everybody see that?
Yeah.
Yep, good. That's always a good start. Okay,
Thanks,
Pippa,
Sean.
over to you. Welcome.
Okay, great. So hello, everyone. I am Pippa Reeve. I am the placemaking and partnership manager for Orbit Housing, and I cover a very large patch of the Midlands, including Northamptonshire. And this front slide is a picture of a litter picking group that we have provided funding to over in Stratford-upon-Avon. Next slide, please.
Yes, sorry, just
Is it possible to show it as a slideshow? Are you able to do
Yes,
that?
let me do that. Yes, there we go.
Great. Okay, so I thought it would be helpful to give you some statistics on where we are in Northamptonshire and the number of properties, because we are scattered across Northamptonshire. We've got about 3,450 properties across Northamptonshire, approximately 1,400 in West and 2,050 in Northants. And in the old district and borough breakdowns, those are the numbers there. So not many at all in South Northants and Wellingborough. Wellingborough is actually mainly independent living provision there. We've got a few more in Daventry, and we're actually building a large development in Daventry. And then obviously, you know, Kettering, Northampton, and East Northants. East Northants, because, you know, we've got properties in Earthlingborough and Thrapston and places like that as well. Okay, next slide. So we support our customers through our Better Days programme. This is an online facility for referrals. People can refer online through our customer hub, and we have sort of 4 or 5 main areas where we can support our customers. We can support them through independent debt advice. This is a telephone advice service. They can get a telephone appointment to talk about any debts they have. We also have a financial capability offering where we help our customers to budget better and look at making savings on their utility bills and things, and that's run through Citizens Advice. We do, you know, all of these things in partnership with, you know, we commission services with other partners. We do have an in-house job offering skills and employment. We've recently changed that to be looking more at in-work poor. So we did some research, and we realized that actually a lot of our customers are working, but they're in very low paid unskilled employment or semi-skilled employment, and actually what's needed to help them maximize their income and improve their well-being is to you know, provide some more skills training for them. So that's what we've been looking at recently. We also have a digital offer, so we can provide one-to-one tutoring for our customers in their own homes if they're not able to access anything out in their communities, and we can provide tablets and portable devices to customers who might not be able to afford that for themselves. And we have an offer for mental well-being called Breathing Space. We work with local minds to offer this service in a one-to-one capacity for our customers, but also we have a link up to the Together All website, which used to be called the Big White Wall, but we work with Together All to offer online digital support for our customers as well. And then finally, we can offer some support to our customers to switch and save. We have a switch and save offer, and also a kind of better value, low cost contents insurance. And then last but not least, we do local community projects, and that's where I come in with my sort of more community-based role. So next slide, please, Sean. And we can offer funding for local community projects through our Better Days Fund. And this is a screenshot of that, so you know you're in the right place if you follow that link there, www.betterdaysfund.co.uk, and you can apply for funding through that portal. What I would say is that you should always discuss your proposal first with your local PPM, which of course is me for Northamptonshire, because we don't want you to waste your time by filling in an application that you know isn't relevant to Orbit customers. The projects must impact Orbit customers, otherwise we're not able to fund it. You should allow at least 6 weeks for processing, because we are again quite a small team, and what you do need to know is that your project will be subject to quarterly monitoring, and we have quite stringent quarterly monitoring process, you will need to complete a spreadsheet and a report every quarter based on KPIs that will have been agreed through the application process. Slight typo here, the 2021-22 budget, I meant to say, is very restricted. We have actually allocated most of our budget for this year. So in order for any projects to be successful, we would be keen for there to be a certain level of match funding for those projects. We do, however, have one-off donations that we can give to community projects and events and things like that, and we can provide up to £1,000. But again, it has to be something where we know that Orbit customers will be accessing that. Next slide, please, Sean. So this is my sort of penultimate slide. This is an example of a project that we do fund in Kettering, CSD activity camps. They're based in Corby, but we have worked with them over a number of years in both Corby and Kettering, and they run school holiday activity camps. And it's very successful, and it's grown from strength to strength, and we're hoping to continue our relationship with CSD. I think it's a video, Sean, so I think if you click on the slide, hopefully it should play the video. No, is it not going to work? No, it worked last time. Never mind, it doesn't matter. If you want to move on to the next slide.
Okay.
Right, so it's my final slide. This is my contact details. As I said at the beginning, if you're thinking of making an application, please do contact me first to discuss it, and then we can decide whether it's worth you going to the portal. Thank you very much.
Okay, well, thank you. So we have a few minutes. If there's any questions to Pippa or to Renata, and thank you for that, Pippa. It's very interesting. I'm sorry that my double clicking didn't produce your film.
That's okay.
Yeah. Right. We are a very small group, so if you want to unmute, if anyone wants to say anything. I know, Pippa, that you know, I know with my groundwork hat on, I think that my colleagues at the Green Patch have worked with you in the past to facilitate and fund residents of yours coming to the Green Patch to do some activities.
Yes, we did try to get a project off the ground there. Again, we have to know that it's going to be accessed by Orbit customers, and we're very keen that the project partner does the promotion and shows in their application that they are going to be doing the promoting of their activity. Yeah,
but it's certainly great to see. Yeah. Sorry,
the Green Patch is very close to some. We've got properties on the Grange in Kettering, so it is very close to some of our properties there.
Yeah. Okay, folks.
I think there's a question from Alex at Northampton. She's asking what the eligibility criteria is.
Yes, sorry, Alex.
Sorry, Alex. Can you?
Thank you for spotting that.
Can you expand on that, Alex?
Yeah, I was just sort of wondering what the criteria was in terms of, do you just support constituted groups? Do you support individuals? Is it just charities?
Yeah, they need to have to be able to show that they've got due diligence. So we do support individuals if they're working in a capacity. So, for example, I've been working with some individual artists because we're based in Coventry, and City of Culture obviously is this year so we've got a couple of artists who are working with some of our customers, and they've had to do some due diligence with us and make sure they've got the proper insurances and DBS checks and that sort of thing. So we can work with individuals, but we need the due diligence.
Absolutely. Right.
I think
Sorry, Hilary, is that a question?
Yes, please. How do we reach Orbital customers? I find that the plaything is open. My understanding of the plaything in Corby was that it was open to anyone. I didn't realise it was
Yes, it is open to anyone, and
Right.
we fund Orbit customers to attend that. Not in Corby now, but in Kettering. We approached CSD and asked them if they would start up a camp in one of the local schools to one of our estates there, because we were having some issues there on that estate. And so, you know, they start the camp up, and then they obviously offer places, you know, for private customers to buy, and then we fund Orbit customers to attend.
So another question there from Anjona saying, how do we find out where Orbit housing schemes are?
Yes, it's difficult. You can if you're working in an area and you think that there are, you know, I've shared the details on the presentation there that we are, you know, across Northamptonshire. So I think if you think you have Orbit houses in your location, please just contact me and I can tell you whether we have or not. I can give you the numbers. We don't have that detail on our website, but you know, by all means get in touch and I can say whether we've got customers there or not.
Absolutely. Good. Okay, right. Going once, going twice. I think we've had the questions variously, which leaves for me just to thank Pippa and Renata for joining us, especially for doing 2 sessions. Actually, it's quite nice when there's only a smaller audience, because it means that we can talk rather than restricting the questions to being typed in the chat. So that's been great. And thanks everyone for joining. Do look out for those feedback forms and be in for your chance to win a John Lewis voucher. I may even fill one in myself. Okay, on
Thanks,
that note, thanks everybody.
Bye everyone.
Thank you very much. Okay,
Bye-bye.
bye now.